Colonel Rob Maness has a lifelong record of providing dedicated service to this nation. Having worked his way up from the enlisted ranks to full colonel, he served our country for more than 32 years. He has served as a bomber squadron commander, bomb disposal technician, Joint Chiefs of Staff Operations Officer, assisted the National Security Team with the campaign plan for the global war on terrorism. He authored the first theater nuclear war plan and served as the Vice Commander of America's largest airborne intelligence wing. Colonel Rob Maness is a true American hero. This is Rob Maness Live.
So what's the difference between Haiti and a failed state? It's telling, right? We can't really identify them because the gangs are in charge, the government has been thrown out, and as a Florida man, I'm deeply concerned about this wave of people that we are having coming from Haiti, and it will accelerate because I've gone to Opelika and I've spent time with the folks that are engaged in Operation Vigilant Sentry, and they say the number one push factor that drives these Haitians into Broward County, Palm Beach County, where they don't disperse throughout the country, they stay in Southeast Florida. That driving factor is the deterioration of conditions in Haiti. So what are we doing to prepare for that wave and to ensure that these people are not paroled into the United States as the administration has done with people on the southern border, but instead are repatriated back at the dock at Port-au-Prince?
Go ahead. Congressman, we're doing a number of things to ensure that we're keeping track of the situation and we're prepared. At the moment, we have not yet seen large numbers, what we would characterize as a maritime mass migration. But we are alert to that.
Mass migration, though.
We are alert to that possibility. I think you're right that the driving conditions in Haiti could very well press more people. So we've recently approved some additional assistance that we can provide to the Coast Guard. I think that has now fully been approved. We'll be providing notifications if we haven't already provide additional shipboard assistance.
Because I've talked to the Coast Guard, and what they say would really support them would be more naval vessels, would be DOD support. And because I think you correctly said that there is an anticipated mass migration here, there are specific legal authorities that we can access that I would implore you to access. Specifically, George W. Bush signed Executive Order 13276. And in that executive order, there is the ability for any president to designate an anticipated mass migration and then get gray hull naval vessels into the Straits of Florida to deter that migration and then to repatriate those people before they get to Florida.
America's Border Wars. Welcome back to More War Monday on the Rob Maness Show live on Patriot.tv and X Spaces simulcast, folks. Well, I gotta say it. It's gonna be a bloodbath. That's the latest news from the government media mouthpieces over completely benign comments from Donald Trump at a rally this weekend in Ohio supporting U.S. Senate candidate Bernie Moreno about what will happen to the auto industry if he is not reelected. He was referring to China's new car manufacturing plants in Mexico and how they will destroy America's automaker industry because his opponents won't stop them from selling their cars in the USA, but he will. Border control and security matters. In fact, the current regime is conducting a wartime invasion into the United States using its open border and now open ports policies. Florida's Haiti troubles is just the latest front to open in the regime's war on us, you and me. You will see in this show that the southern border invasion is only part of this war on our own country by our own government. My guest today is Veterans for Trump Florida State Chapter Operations Director Allie Legge. Allie's approach to public service is defined by her unwavering commitment to freedom, civic activism, and a staunch dedication to America First principles. As an Army veteran, she brings a disciplined and principled approach to her endeavors instilled through her service to our great nation. Allie's passion for safeguarding liberty and empowering citizens led her to establish Moms for Freedom, and as a national ambassador to Veterans for America First. Allie, welcome to the Rob Maness Show.
Thank you, Colonel, so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's truly an honor to be in your presence, for sure.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, and I had to throw a little current news into this mix because it relates to what we're talking about. We've moved the border war and an invasion concept to More War Mondays. This is the first show we're doing on it from a war perspective because that's exactly what the regime is doing to us. They are conducting warfare on the American people using this open borders invasion policy. And now we're going to learn during this show that Haiti didn't just happen. These crazy gangsters that have taken over the country, that didn't just happen. It happened because of actions of the United States of America. And we'll see that later in the show. But we have to talk about the government mouthpiece media, as I call them, Allie. I was at the rally this weekend in Ohio. That's why I have a little bit of sunburn on my forehead here all day long. And I was about 25 or 30 feet from President Trump as he was making those remarks. And there was nothing in that speech about the term bloodbath that would lead any thinking person with any objectivity whatsoever. If you can spell, say your ABCs, add 1 + 1 and get 2, and I know that's hard for some people on the left in this country now, then you would have gotten what he was talking about very clearly. But the media's gone nuts and saying he was calling for violence, etc. Now, he was off prompter a lot in that speech because the wind was blowing and his teleprompters were waving around and he couldn't even read them. He complained about it pretty constantly. And there were some things that he said that I sat back and I go, oh, somebody's going to have fun with that. But this particular part of the speech about the automakers and China's manufacturing plants of cars and them expecting to be able to sell those cars to Americans without any adherence to trade policy or anything like that. Absolutely nothing. It was very clear. It was a warning to auto manufacturers and a warning because he said this will be the least of it, a warning to all manufacturers in the United States of America is the way the audience took it. But the media has gone crazy. What do you think about this media? How do we get back to a free press in this country that actually works for the American people and acts as a safeguard against government overreach and government action to destroy our liberty?
Well, I had your same sentiments when I was listening to the speech as well. Although I wasn't there, I was listening live while it was being broadcast, and I felt the same way. I think if anybody were to actually listen to the entire clip, they would understand exactly what he was talking about. But this is what legacy media does. This is what they've done since 2016. Honestly, even before that. I mean, with 2020 and all of the revelations that we found out over the last few years, I mean, we question literally everything now. And so I think the way that we get back to free press is just making sure that we are listening to independent media. That's where everybody is getting their news now, is through independent media. And we have a lot of great people that are doing that and bringing us true, accurate news from the ground. And we're able to trust them because they're there and they're not, fluffing it. They're not saying things that aren't true. And this is what I love about the X community is that we are able to provide, our own personal feedback once we see the narrative that's being pushed. There have been several people that I've seen on X and maybe some on Facebook that have went to bat for President Trump and what he was saying. Of course, they're going to use the phrase bloodbath, and he actually used it correctly. So it's just wild that legacy media has done this. I mean, it is Maoism, right? This is what the Communist Party does. I mean, we have a Communist Party running in our federal government.
Oh yeah, if you're not following an account called G Van Fleet on X, you need to follow her. She grew up in the Maoist Cultural Revolution and is amazing how relevant the actions of the press and the current regime and the government bureaucrats in the United States government now are following Mao's Cultural Revolution all the way down to wanting to divide our children from their parents and struggle sessions and all of those kinds of things. this is what it looks like. Now we may not be getting people sent to gulags yet, but if this continues down this path, that's coming. And don't forget, the Democrats have demonstrated with the Japanese internment camps in World War II that they can do gulags just as good as Joe Stalin could. So don't be surprised if you see that happening at some point. Well, Allie, you're from Florida, as I pointed out in my monologue, and you're here as partially as a representative for Veterans for America First, Veterans for Trump, the national organization, and the Florida organization, really. And we want to talk about this Haiti issue specifically, and I'm bringing this into my discussion about the border invasion for the first time ever since you remember the whipping incident, the guys on horseback, the Border Patrol folks on horseback, the fake whipping incident. That was the last fake media thing that happened at the border that really blew up, and where they said these horseback riding CBP agents were whipping Haitian immigrants with their reins of their horses, which was absolutely untrue. The Haitians were there for. I'm sorry. Yeah, the Haitians were there for a reason, and that kind of went away, and we'll see why here in a couple of clips that we showed during the show. But it's back now because the gangs have taken over the government, the whole island, and they're running it. And I don't know if they're cannibals or not. I've seen that story. It's unconfirmed, but it's scary because the gangs are in charge. There is no governing influence from a law and order perspective in Haiti right now. And Congressman Gates is a Florida congressman. We saw him in that opening clip, and he's surprisingly having to tell the government's representative that George W. Bush has signed an executive order years ago that would enable her to get U.S. Navy ships to go down and set up basically a picket line to prevent these thousands of illegals from coming in here, which are likely going to be criminals. I mean, one boat was picked up the other day that had night vision goggles and all kinds of things on it that people seeking asylum really don't need. Exactly. So, Gates is right. But the scary part is the government rep at that hearing really wasn't leaning forward and saying, yeah, we're going to help. They're all like, the Coast Guard's got it. It's seemingly like their attitude is it's not a big deal, but it's a big deal.
It is. It's apathy, right? It's apathy from the highest levels, and this is what weak leadership looks like. This is what incompetency looks like within our government, and this is why veterans are so upset about what's going on at our border. It's what we're so upset about when it comes to all facets of our government institutions and what's really happening within our government. It's wild that we have weak leaders. I mean, how do you even call them leaders if they're weak-minded, if they're feeble, and they don't have spines to actually get things done? This is it's completely insane to me, and it's really frustrating because it leaves the people that have looked to our government for support. We are looking at them now like, well, if we can't depend on our own government to protect us, then it requires us to protect ourselves. And while we're trying to protect ourselves, they're implementing things where we're not going to be allowed to do that if we don't push back. And so this is just a warning sign for all Americans watching. Listen, we cannot be apathetic about this. We have to roll up our sleeves, and we have to get in it, and we have to be involved, and we have to make sure that our representatives are actually representing us. We have to make sure that we are not signing our rights away or having them vote our rights away. We need to make sure that we are up to date on every single news article that's coming out that will affect us, making sure that we're paying attention to what's going on at the border. As a Florida woman, I love that Representative Gates said, as a Florida man, as a Florida woman here, and a mom and a veteran and a spouse of a military veteran, this is very concerning to have gang members, violent gang members from, other countries who don't understand law at all, law and order at all. They're very violent in a way that we've never seen here in America. Coming to our shores is quite literally an invasion and could ultimately result in what the left is talking about as a bloodbath. I mean, this is very concerning. We don't want to end up with rape trees in Florida. And so making sure that we are on the offense and not defense is very important.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And that's why Veterans for America First created this new documentary that's premiering around the country called Border Invasion. And Allie and I are both part of that organization. I have to be, transparent here. I'm the president of the Mississippi chapter of Veterans for America First and Veterans for Trump. And Chad Caton, the national operations director, and I will be out in Dallas, Texas, with the Dallas Jewish conservatives that are going to premiere the documentary. We're going to be on the stage with Brandon Gill and Victor Abiola, the CBP agent that was shot on the March 28th at 6 p.m. out at the Studio Movie Grill. So that's March 28th at 6 p.m. for those in the audience. Well, we got to take our first break, Allie. When we come back, though, we'll see how the United States State Department had a hand in what's happening today with Haiti and why people in Florida should be very concerned. I'm Rob Maness, and we'll be right back.
The markets are getting crazy, and now is the time to protect yourself from economic turmoil. Silver is in the headlines right now and creating lots of excitement as the price of silver is extremely attractive compared to gold. A call to Swiss America gets you the scoop on whether the silver opportunity is for real. What you'll discover will really blow your mind. Today, silver faces a huge shortage due to the rising demand by military, solar, electric cars, and computers, all of which depend on silver. But right now, silver is priced to sell according to worldwide experts. Now, to help you get started, Swiss America is offering beautiful United States Walking Liberty half dollars, issued by the U.S. Mint from 1916 to 1947 and minted in 90% pure silver for a special introductory price. Limit of $250 per customer while supplies last. So call the number on your screen or visit SwissAmerica.com, because now is the time to rediscover silver.
Sounds rolling, all 3 cameras, we're good.
Is there any regrets that you have in life? I should sit here and say, yeah, I got a lot of regrets. But when I look back on my life and I understand the lives that were lost, I mean, I'm sitting here with you. And I can tell my story.
Former National Security Advisor, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, pleaded guilty today to lying to the FBI.
He was one of the most respected generals in the military.
He was, by definition, the most dangerous possible person for Donald Trump to hire.
Brilliant military career, serving 33 years. Why was he being so elusive?
Mike Flynn told the truth and faced life in prison.
To go back on why on the 16th of March in the year of our Lord 2024, we've got Marines getting ready to go to Haiti. We've got DeSantis calling up law enforcement. We've got people in Florida panicked that hundreds of thousands of Haitians are going to come to Florida. We have a migrant young girl, 15 years old, raped in a motel, funded by NGOs with a Haitian illegal alien alleged raping her. How all this befell us. What is the cover of that book? Tell me what that. And for our podcast and radio audience, this is why you have to go to word.org and sign up for the daily newsletter, because this is where you get the video and the pictures. What is that picture of, sir? That photo on the cover of your book?
That is the Del Rio migrant camp crisis at its peak, September 2021. Great photo shot by Auden Cabello, who lives in Acuna, right across from there. That photo is significant to the book because there's a whole chapter about the crisis, but within the book also are revelations that crisis in Del Rio, Texas, led the Biden administration to make decisions that scuttled Haiti democracy, left the dictator in place.
Hold it. Hang on. Don't get ahead of the story. The picture of Del Rio, that is Del Rio, Texas. That's about as far away as Haiti as you can get. That's Del Rio, Texas. Yeah. And that migrant camp is what that was the inciting incident on this whole illegal alien invasion of our country. That's when the whole nation woke up and said, whoa, what's happening? Biden realized they had a PR problem. They had an optics problem immediately. That camp rattled inside the Biden regime, not to change their policies, but they had to change the optics of their policies. And they went to all those things that you've gone through and documented over time. But what did they do specifically to Haiti? They couldn't take the optics of Haitians coming across a bridge from Mexico into Del Rio, Texas, and then waiting under that bridge. And, bad old Texas Rangers were using lassos to round them up and all those other lies they had. Those optics were going to destroy Biden in the midterms, destroy his illegitimate regime, and force him out of the office he had usurped in November of 2024, sir. So tell me what they did.
That's right. So this was a year before the midterms. Everybody was thinking already, how we're in the campaign season for the midterm elections 2022. This thing is just growing by leaps and bounds. Thousands more were on the way. They had to do something dramatic and deterring to liquidate.
Dramatic and deterring. The Haitians in Del Rio, Texas. Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's More War Mondays, and we've moved the border invasion and the war on the American people through the border invasion policies of the Biden regime to More War Mondays because that's more appropriate. We are having a war declared and fought against the American people by our own United States government. And as you continue to watch this show, you will see that the State Department took dramatic action to change the situation on the ground from that bridge and horseback Customs and Border Patrol agents trying to round up these Haitians and everything and getting accused of whipping them with reins and those kind of things and lassos to make it look different. But nothing really changed. And our guest today is Ali Legge, the operations director for the Florida chapter of Veterans for America First and Veterans for Trump. And Ali, that's just a little bit of a teaser there for our next clip we'll have in the next segment about what the State Department did. But when you remind yourself and you look at the pictures of all those Haitians underneath that bridge, and you realize that now today we have the Biden administration using something called the One App to allow fake asylum seekers to claim asylum and never even show up at the border. They're flying them in the hundreds of thousands. There's a reporting on the street that over 200,000 Haitians have already been flown in using the One App asylum seeking capability so that the American people never see it. That's pretty despicable.
I mean, honestly, it should be quite infuriating for anybody that sees this. And I implore anyone that is watching right now or listening to share it. Share it to all of your friends. Go and have like a meeting at your house. Invite your neighbors over. Share this information with your neighbors because they need to know the truth. Our legacy media is not sharing the truth. They have to hear it from the people on the ground, like Paul Revere did way back when, right? We are being invaded and it is being funded by our federal government. They do not want Americans to be self-sufficient. They want to kill all spirit of hope, the spirit of America that has grown for over 200 years, that has, has been the beacon of hope for people across the world to come here and live in prosperity and live without oppression. They want to oppress the American people. There is this thing called replacement theory. It's not a theory, guys, when our government is actually doing it real time. This is happening real time, guys. This is very serious, and it's quite disheartening and really frustrating that this is happening. I can't even imagine. I mean, when we had Ellis Island, we had immigrants coming over from Ellis Island. They were going through all of these checkpoints and they were going through medical checks and things of that nature. We're not even doing that. They're not even doing that. You get on an app and the app approves you to fly from wherever you're coming in from. And then you go into any of these sanctuary cities or any of these inner cities across the United States. And we're just supposed to sit there and take it while they're removing veterans' health, where they're removing veterans and kicking veterans out on the street. They're kicking old people out in the street. They're kicking students out of their schools just to house migrants, not even migrants, Criminal aliens is what they are. They are coming over here illegally, funded by our federal government, which is funded by our tax dollars, guys. We are paying for this. Everyone should be furious. Make sure you're calling your representatives and tell them how upset you are about this. Make sure you're calling the White House. Talk to Joe Biden. Tell him that he has constitutional authority to keep the border closed and to close it and do his job. It requires all of us to be active. What level of sacrifice are you willing to give for this nation? If you are sitting on your hands and you're just going, oh, well, this is just, it is what it is, you're part of the problem. Wake up and actually do something.
Yeah, I think the American people are catching on. That's a great input. That's exactly why I wanted to get you on here to talk about this, because the American people, I believe, are catching on. The polling showing that border security and illegal immigration is the #1 issue in this race for the presidency and this election coming up for electing senators and congresspeople, where Republicans need to take power in both houses of Congress and win with Donald J. Trump, who's already the nominee. He's got enough delegates now, so he's the nominee. And he's the only person that's been president of the United States that has had a proven set of policies that did stop, essentially, illegal aliens from coming into this country. And, Al, you brought up diseases and Ellis Island, which was, it wasn't a perfect process, but it was a process designed to catch diseases and any nefarious characters coming through so that they wouldn't be allowed in. And I don't know if you've seen the reporting, but measles outbreak has occurred in an illegal alien housing place in Chicago, I believe it was. And they're talking about turning 25 people infected with the measles, which has been eradicated in this country, by the way, out onto the streets so that they can infect more people and infect Americans. It's unbelievable what the government in the United States is trying to do to us. Over 10 million people are reported to have come through, and that doesn't even count 2.8 million what they call gotaways, Allie. It's incredible. Well, we've got a hand up over in the Spaces audience. Let's go ahead and take that question. And Kat and Shell, who's got their hand up over there? Let's go ahead with a question for Allie.
Go ahead, Alpha.
Hey, Colonel, I had a question on to what we're discussing. I was wanting to know, listening to attorneys on here, professionals like Shipwreck and all them, I was wondering, is it legal and possible for us to do like a petition for all Americans to do a petition and a professional attorney present it to courts for criminal charges demanding that the removal of Biden and overwhelm them, the courts demanding them to do their jobs because of how clearly Biden is breaking the laws? Is that a possibility? And us being able to round up good, it don't matter if they're Democrat, whatever. It's just a letter. Good people. Yeah, but good, people to actually stand up and believe.
Well, it's a great question, Alpha. And I think maybe you meant a lawsuit, Allie, is maybe what he was talking about, because certainly the American citizens would have standing in a lawsuit to try to force the U.S. government to enforce current immigration law, wouldn't it?
I mean, I would think so. I'm not a lawyer, so I can't really speak to that, but I am involved in civics. I work with Moms for America. I'm their civic director of engagement. And this is something I like to push. We have to be involved civically with our local representatives. In order for you to be politically respected, you have to be politically feared. In order for you to be politically feared, you have to understand the proper roles and responsibilities of those that are elected and hired at our government level, whether it's local, all the way from local, all the way up to Capitol Hill. And in order for you to do that, you have to build relationships with the elected representatives and the people that they hire to serve in their cabinet. And when you do that, you become recognizable. And when you go and you represent the people within your community, I would honestly suggest that, yes, file some kind of petition, gather a petition together, go and meet with your representatives, go and speak with them, make phone calls. You have to make it impossible for them to conduct daily business. And you do that by constantly calling them, telling them what your issues are and how to fix it. Don't just ask them to fix it, provide them with a solution. The solution is that Biden needs to just close the border. He has the constitutional authority to do so, but we also need to put the pressure on our elected representatives to make sure that they are putting the pressure on the White House, because the Congress actually controls, they have the most power. The person that sits in the White House doesn't have all the power. First of all, it's we the people of the United States. So the power relies within the people always. It always has. We just need to wake up to that. But also the power is held within our Congress, and we need to make sure that we are contacting our congressmen and women and telling them what the people desire. And we desire protection from this invasion that is being done and by our federal government using our tax dollars. So make sure that you are actively involved, calling them, emailing them, going and meeting with them, bring your friends with them, telling them that they need to do their job. If not, you will either censure them from ever running again as a Republican or a Democrat and find other people to sit in their position.
That's right. Exercise your right to petition the government to address your grievances. It is your right to demand that in person, in writing, however you choose to do it. It is your absolute right. I suggest that we all go up there in the millions inside that beltway again and let them know that they've got to redress this grievance, because we are demanding it. But I haven't been able to get conservatives to do it because everybody's chilled based on the treatment of the J6 political prisoners. We're still working on that problem. We've got to take another break, Allie. When we come back, we'll hear Todd Bensman actually lay out the facts of what the State Department did that's causing the Haitian influx that's about to happen here in the state of Florida and the rest of the United States. I'll be right back on Patriot.tv.
Joining me at the news desk now is Rebecca Walzer of WalzerWealth.com. She has been a regular guest on my TV show, Brennan House Live, for a long time. She's not just an economics expert, but she's an attorney. Rebecca, you have a large firm. How many people work for your firm?
Just about 30, yes.
30. And
yes.
Tell me, how can people prepare for what's coming with the end of the dollar as we know it?
The end of the fiat system as we know it globally. We are moving to hard asset-backed currencies again. Thank the Lord, because fiat is where we get into all the problems. When you have debt-based currency, you have debt-based problems. And the United States, unfortunately, since 2020 has not stopped spending at pandemic levels. This is systemic and it is unsustainable, and it is coming to an end, especially with the addition of Saudi Arabia and the UAE to the BRICS nations. This is what controls our petrodollar. This is the threat immediately in 2024.
For more information, WalzerWealth.com. WalzerWealth.com. She is not your traditional financial planner. Find out why at WalzerWealth.com.
Experts say that Russian hackers found a way to hack our utilities, and the hackers may still be in there, waiting to strike.
Go after their power, go after their water, and you can bring a nation to its knees.
They're identifying targets, they're positioning malware so they could pull the trigger when they wanted to.
Experts see the intrusion as a possible precursor to an unprecedented Russian cyber attack that could, in the event of war, devastate the U.S.
We know that China has been hacking everything they can and stealing our intellectual property. They want to take down America's economy. They want to take down our morale. They understand that if they can destroy our economy, they can destroy our future. We're at war.
Tell me what did they do again to get rid of the camp?
Well, the first thing they did was they had the State Department scuttle Haiti's elections. Remember, this was going to be their very first elections, their first presidential in years and years. That was seen by the international community as the first necessary step to set Haiti up for stability, for real governance, for going forward. Instead, Biden administration needed that camp gone, so they scuttled Haiti's elections to get permission to deport them into Port-au-Prince. That's what happened. They killed those elections out 2 months beforehand. They deported a whole bunch of Haitians there. Everything was fine. And now we're seeing what happened as a result. Had they had those elections, had they elected a new president and a parliament, a lot of what we're seeing probably would not have happened at all. But the administration did do this. And I have that from his own envoy to Haiti.
There it is, folks. The United States State Department stopped the election, the first elections in many, many decades in Haiti, that has resulted in gangs now having taken over the country. And people are trying to flee, but also embedded in people fleeing, illegal aliens that are gang members, I'm sure, and criminals and probably terrorists are in those groups of people. And that's why Representative Matt Gaetz is calling for the Gray Hole Navy's support to the Coast Guard to stop any flows from Haitians from Haiti and keep them from getting to the state of Florida and ultimately into the United States of America, because all it's going to do is make our problems worse when we're sitting here with over 10 million illegal aliens and 2.8 million gotaways, 100,000 or more military-age Chinese males, 30,000 Turks that have illegally entered, and over 150 terrorist watch list individuals that have entered this country since Joe Biden took office. On his first day, he eliminated all the executive orders that Donald J. Trump had put in place to prevent this from happening, and now we're seeing the results. Well, our guest today is Ali Legge, the Florida Director of Operations for Veterans for America First, which just released a new documentary called Border Invasion that has congressional candidates in it, Border Patrol agents, the Chief of Border Police, that Randy Clark is in it, and they went down to the southern border to actually look and see what was happening, and it's unbelievable. You see rape trees, you see all of the ID cards that are thrown away and those kind of things. So find out where you can see that movie. Chad Caton, the National Veterans for America First Operations Director, and I will be in Dallas, Texas on March 28th at 6 p.m. And let me get the actual location for you. The Studio Movie Grill will be with Brandon Gill and Victor Abiola, a CBP agent. Brandon Gill just won a congressional seat. He's Dinesh D'Souza's son-in-law. So we're excited to be there to screen this movie for folks that want to sign up and come join us that evening, March 28th at 6 p.m. in Dallas, Texas. Well, Ali, welcome back to the show. There it is. Our tax dollars set the conditions by not allowing those elections so that the Biden administration could look good politically. And now the reason the gangs have taken over the country is because the people are supporting them because they're mad and they're upset that the elections never occurred, and they kicked the guy out that was left in place that was allegedly a very corrupt individual running a corrupt government. And nobody should be surprised by that. Haiti's been like that for over 200 years.
Three things. The Biden regime and his administration cares more about optics than they do about people. Second thing is weak leadership breeds weak leadership, right? When good men do nothing, evil prevails. That's exactly what you're witnessing right now. The third thing I would say is this is absolutely insane. Do not think that if our American government can do what they did in Haiti, and they've done it in other countries, that they can't do it here. We've already seen what they did in 2020. We've already seen what they did to J6ers, right? They're putting them in gulags here already in our federal prison. And instead of the DOJ going after known terrorists that are being flown into this country, they decided to go after moms who petitioned their school board. They decided to go after parents that were questioning materials that our children were learning, and having people petition their government which we have a right to do. This is very concerning to the American people, and I implore you again to go and share this with all of your neighbors and all of your friends. As far as the border invasion film, I think this is a perfect film for this time that we are in. It is a film which is factual, right, of people that are boots on the ground, that understand what's really going on and tell the story that needs to be told. You can find the trailer on YouTube. You can also find it at Salem Media or Salem Now, and it's also on our website at vetsfortrump.us.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for putting that information out there. And I'll just remind folks that Patriot.tv is having a live launch party on March 29th and 30th. General Flynn's going to be in studio. It's about his new movie that we've been showing the trailer for during our commercials on March 29th. So a lot going on next week, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And we want you all to get the factual information and not be brainwashed by the government media, like what they're trying to do with bloodbath, folks. It's a bloodbath. Well, of course it's a bloodbath when you destroy the auto manufacturing industry in the United States of America. My goodness, that helped create the American vaunted middle class, which is why we're a prosperous nation still today, even in spite of our economic problems. Well, Allie, we've got a hand up over in the spaces. Question for you. I think it's Nathan over there, Cat and Shell. Go ahead.
Hey, good afternoon, Colonel, Allie, Shell, Cat. The NGOs.
Go ahead, Nathan.
The NGOs were brought up, and I think maybe we can pressure Congress to try to look into these nonprofits a little more instead of just letting them run freely. And we could do the same ourselves too. We could follow our own thing with Judicial Watch and have them look into these individual ones. But we'll have to identify which ones there are and really hit hard after all this. It's going to take all of us to take our country back. And I think stopping these NGOs is one of the best ways we can take on one of these Hydra heads.
Yeah, it's a great question because a lot of people anecdotally know that non-government organizations are facilitating these illegal aliens all the way from the time they leave their own countries till even by footpath when they're coming up through the Darien Gap in Panama. Alley, these NGOs are building camps, and we know that tax dollars are being given to these folks, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. The federal government is giving them incentives to fly these people around and give them IDs and to make sure that they're getting to where they need to go or wherever the federal government wants them to go. But this is something that I firmly agree with Governor DeSantis. He's taking action here in Florida by signing SB 1718, which limits and bans local governments and NGOs from issuing identification documents to illegal aliens and invalidates all out-of-state driver's licenses or licenses that were given from other states, and which is very important, right? That's something that I think almost every governor on the border should be able to do. Every governor within the United States has the ability to do, as long as their legislature is able to put forth the proper legislation. But as you know, governors can do executive orders, and so I think this is something that DeSantis is putting forward and encouraging other governors to do as well. So kudos to him. I mean, you got to give credit where it's due.
Oh, absolutely. Ron DeSantis, before he did this 2024 presidential run, was known as the #1 Republican governor in the United States. And since he's gotten off the campaign trail, he picked up the reins of the governor's office again. And we are starting to see those great actions that most people agree with, even non-Republicans agree with, keeping these NGOs from giving identification and being able to use those identification papers with illegal aliens inside any state is something every governor should be seriously considering, especially those governors like Florida. My governor here in Mississippi, I live just a mile from a major port that comes in off the Gulf of Mexico. So we need our folks in every state to petition their legislatures and their governors to at least do executive orders modeling after the DeSantis legislation, and look to pass state legislation in your state houses that will enable that to be permanent so that these NGOs can't get away with this and the federal government can't get away with it. Well, we've got to take another break, Allie, but when we come back, we'll hear from General Flynn, because it's not just Florida. It's not just the southern border. We got a lot of problems with all of our borders because the border invasion that the Biden regime has put in place encompasses the country 360 degrees. We'll be right back on the Rob Maness Show on Patriot.tv.
We've learned through the pandemic we can never be caught unprepared again. And so many Americans, when COVID hit, they had nothing in the house. Stores were shut down and doctors' offices were shut down. And even if doctors prescribed drugs, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, pharmacists wouldn't fill the prescriptions. That was a nightmare.
Now the situation is much worse. We have these horrible supply chain problems. In our emergency medical kit at the Wellness Company, we have 8 prescription drugs that are all potentially life-saving.
Most people who died with COVID, they died in the hospital because they didn't receive early treatment.
Every American family should have one of these.
I can tell you the Wellness Company kit is the answer.
Hi neighbor, Pat Boone here. Today, I want to help you find some peace of mind concerning your money. Like it or not, we're all living in a financial war zone. That's right. We're watching our hard-earned dollars get crushed by inflation. In fact, recently inflation reached its highest level in 40 years. And on top of that, cash, which has always represented freedom and privacy, is more and more being replaced by a cashless system. That's right. Powerful forces are definitely waging a war against cash. So I'm encouraging you to prepare before it's too late. Call or text the number on the screen for a free report, The Secret War on Cash from Swiss America. Discover how a few simple steps can protect your money as well as your privacy and your peace of mind. So call or text for your free report, The Secret War on Cash, and make sure to mention Pat Boone sent you.
Isn't it true as a national security advisor that one of the ways that they're doing it, sir, is through our open border?
But actually, in our country, this idea of migration, human migration, the illegal invasion that is going on, this is very intentional. There is no mistake. This is not incompetence. This is not, some other challenge because there's a war going on our southern border. No. Our administration, this current administration led by the Biden White House, is purposely allowing an open border. And mostly what we talk about, Aubrey, is we talk about the southern border. The northern border, we don't even pay any attention to it. And there's massive problems coming across the northern border, too. In fact, I would venture to say that we actually have more of the terrorist ilk crossing the northern border because it's much bigger. And there's many more places to cross.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's More War Monday, and we've moved the border invasion discussion to More War Mondays because it is a declared war on the American people. And as you just heard there, the 24th National Security Advisor, Lieutenant General Mike Flynn, U.S. Army retired, talking about the concern with the northern border. And I wanted to bring this in with our guest, Allie Legge, who is the Operations Director for Veterans for America First from Florida. And we're talking about the new border invasion documentary that organization is premiering as we speak today with her. That Allie, what General Flynn brought up there about terrorists coming in, that actually bears truth because, when I was in the Pentagon on 9/11 and got attacked, some of those terrorists had actually come through our northern border, and there had been attempts after the 9/11 attacks for terrorists to come through the northern border, not just in the Northeast, but also out in the Northwest, the central part of the north of the United States. Don't worry, I have dogs too, and every once in a while, my dog Reagan likes to be heard, so that's okay. But the terrorism aspect is something that's folks really aren't paying attention to, and as our Department of Homeland Security is out there rounding up MAGA grandmas and chasing this mythical white supremacist domestic terrorism army that doesn't exist, both inside our military and outside in the rest of society. They're not paying attention to that. And there's another issue, drugs. You know, the drug deaths up in the northeastern part of the United States and those border states, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and those kind of things has been on fire and just burning like a brush fire for years and years and years. And a lot of those drugs come across that border with illegal aliens.
It's very disheartening. I mean, our federal government is putting Americans in danger by allowing our borders to be wide open. And the fact that they will not close it shows their intentionality, right? And it should implore every single American to really just push back and express how important it is for us to make sure that we, one, are building our communities, that we are communicating with each other, that we are looking out for one another, because at the end of the day, we're all Americans, and we need to make sure that we protect ourselves and protect each other. We have to unite under this issue, because if not, then we are going to be completely divided, and the gangs that are coming over and the criminals that are coming over through these open borders will win. They will win if we are not united. We have to stand united. I don't care what political party you align with. I don't care what color you are, what religion you are, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. We are all Americans, and we need to make sure that we are standing together, making sure that your neighbors have what they need, because this is important. We cannot sustain this this way. And this is what happens when you have weak leadership. I mean, I can't say it enough. This is weak, spineless leadership, but it is done on purpose. And when weak men take control, women and children are commodities. And that's what we're seeing across our border, our southern border especially. But when they're flown to different cities, this is what they're doing. They're using women and they're using children, and they're also using drugs. And this is just, it's absolutely terrible, and it's terrifying at the same time.
You know, the framers of the Constitution, when they approved the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms by the people, this is what they foresaw. Was a central government that has too much power on the one hand and so much power on the other hand that they refuse to enforce laws because it's helping them politically and maintain their political power. Because this is all about winning elections, in my opinion. There's no other valid reason for it. You know, I mean, everybody has a soft heart. We want to help people that are trying to get asylum from countries where they're being oppressed, like the Uyghurs from China, that China's got in concentration camps. I don't think anybody would want to deny folks in those situations the ability to seek asylum here. But asylum is not sought for economic reasons or crime reasons and those kinds of things. So when a society is generally broken down, like what we see here in Haiti and many of the countries in South and Central America that we've seen before, and countries around the world, that's not what asylum is for, but that's what it's being used for. And unfortunately, these streams of millions of people, Allie, are embedded with criminals and cartel members and drugs like fentanyl, which is killing over 100,000 Americans a year at a minimum for the last 4 or 5 years. And that's more the people than we've had die in all the wars that we've been involved in since 9/11. It's incredible.
Talk about a bloodbath. Sorry, talk about a bloodbath, Colonel. I mean, that's exactly what this is. That our federal government is assisting in the bloodbath, the bloodshed, and the mass death of Americans. I mean, we're seeing this regime completely. It is the antithesis of what America was built on. It is the antithesis of what America is. And they are literally every single thing that they have said that Donald Trump is and his supporters are. They are everything that they said that we are. And it is clear as day. If you can't see it, I don't know how to help you, because it's clear. It is so clear. It's so disheartening. I can't believe we're here. I can't believe we're in this situation.
Yeah, it is hard to believe, but I tell you, I have great faith in the American people. Buy more guns and ammo, folks. And as Allie said, coordinate with your neighbors. Set up your own self-defense and protection plans. Make sure you've got plenty of food, a water source, stockpile medications that you might need to sustain your life and your family's lives. That's why we have the Second Amendment. That's what Americans do. And you know what? People around the world are jealous of us because of that. And dictators around the world are afraid of us because of that simple issue. The only thing that can overcome it is nuclear weapons. As long as we stay positive and make sure that we are doing the appropriate things, anybody that wants to harm our people will have to think twice before they do that. But when the U.S. government is assisting them, Allie, that's when it's easy for them to make the decision. And the decisions have been made. Fentanyl's streaming across the border. The cartels control a lot of our southern border. The cartels control a lot of our northern border. The terrorists are coming in. There will be an attack, my friends. There will be an attack. Buy more guns and ammo. Train. Set up your defense plans with your neighbors. Well, Allie, the border invasion documentary. Tell folks one more time where they can get that. Chad, Caton, and I will be in Dallas on the 28th of March. I'll just say that one more time. 6 p.m. at the Studio Movie Grill with Brandon Gill and Victor Abiola on a panel there to screen the movie, sponsored by the Dallas. We're glad for that sponsorship and look forward to it. But where else can folks find the movie trailer and get access?
You can go to. Sorry, you can go to YouTube. I'm having a little bit of FOMO, by the way. I want to go to Texas and see all of you guys in person. That would be lovely, and watch this film. But we'll figure that out. But you can go to Salem now and watch the trailer. You can also go on YouTube and watch the trailer. And you can also go to veteransfortrump.us to see the trailer as well. And always follow Vets Trump on X. Sorry.
Yeah, it's Vets_4_Trump on X. But what about your location and your coordinates on social media? How can folks find you, Allie?
So I'm at Real Allie, ALY, Leg, LEGGE on all social platforms. You can find me there. And yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah, social media.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it. Well, folks, there you have it. The border invasion documentary. It's available everywhere. That's Allie Legge. Go check her out. Follow her on social media. Follow Vets for Trump. And follow Patriot.tv, folks. Patriot.tv's launch party is March 29th and 30th. We'll be screening the General Flynn film. General Flynn, it's my understanding, and some other folks will be in studio in our home studios in Memphis, Tennessee, that Friday night and Saturday. So we're excited to have you there. And remember, the corporate government mouthpiece media is lying to you. Patriot.tv. And here at the Rob Maness Show, we're going to tell you the truth no matter what. That's what the free press is supposed to be in America, and we're Americans. So sign up for Patriot.tv and join us at the watch party or the launch party Friday night, March 29th, and Saturday, March 30th with General Flynn. One more thing before I let you go. This Thursday, Shell Shocked, the cast of General Flynn's new movie, Flynn, is going to be joining Shell and Kat for that space on Shell Shocked Thursday evening. You don't want to miss it. I'm Rob Maness on Patriot.tv. I'll see you tomorrow. It's Training Tuesday. We've got Clay Cart from the Reawaken America Tour and Todd Wood from Armed Forces Press talking about duty, honor, country being removed from West Point's mission statement. It's unbelievable. We'll see you tomorrow. Training Tuesday.
Hi neighbor, Pat Boone here. Today, I want to help you find some peace of mind concerning your money. Like it or not, we're all living in a financial war zone. That's right. We're watching our hard-earned dollars get crushed by inflation. In fact, recently inflation reached its highest level in 40 years. And on top of that, cash, which has always represented freedom and privacy,